You've probably heard that not getting enough sleep, eating too much fat, or staying inactive can increase your risk of a heart attack. But there's something few people talk about. In adults over 60, many heart attacks actually happen within the first few hours after waking up. And what triggers it isn't always a serious medical condition. Sometimes it's just a very familiar action you do every morning in less than 30 seconds. I've seen many cases where everything seemed completely normal the night before. No chest pain, no warning signs. But just minutes after waking up, their body suddenly loses control. Dizziness, a racing heartbeat, even collapsing. This doesn't happen randomly. It's the result of silent physiological changes that occur the moment your body shifts from sleep to wakefulness. The problem is, most of us have no idea what's actually happening inside our body at that moment. And no one really explains that a very small change in how you start your morning can make a significant difference for your heart. If you're over 60 or you have a loved one in that age group, listen carefully to what I'm about to share, because understanding this moment and handling it the right way could be what helps you avoid a serious event you never saw coming. What you need to understand is this. Even before you open your eyes, your body has already started powering up. And it does so very differently than it did when you were younger. While you sleep, your heart operates in a low-energy mode. Your heart rate slows down, your blood pressure drops, and your nervous system becomes calmer. It's one of the rare times in the day when your heart truly gets to rest. But as you get closer to waking up, your body doesn't gently switch back on the way you might think. About 30 to 60 minutes before you fully wake, your brain begins sending signals to activate the entire system. Two key hormones are rapidly released, cortisol and adrenaline. You can think of it like someone pressing hard on the gas pedal right as the engine starts. In a very short time, three things happen almost at once. Your heart rate increases, your blood pressure rises, and your blood vessels tighten. In younger people, a flexible cardiovascular system can adapt to this shift quite easily. But after age 60, things don't respond as smoothly. The blood vessel walls become less elastic. The body's adjustment reflex slows down. And in many people, even without obvious symptoms, small plaques may already be present inside the arteries. Under normal conditions, they can remain silent for years. But when pressure rises suddenly, they become much more vulnerable. That's why early morning becomes such a sensitive window for your heart. Not because you're doing anything strenuous, but because your body is going through a series of intense changes before you're even aware of it. And right at that moment of transition, there's a mistake that many people repeat every single morning. Quickly, automatically, almost without thinking, you've just woken up. The alarm goes off. Your body is still in that half-asleep state, but within seconds, you change positions, from lying down to sitting, then from sitting to standing. It all happens very fast, sometimes in less than 3 to 5 seconds. It feels normal, but for a body over 60, this is an abrupt shift. When you're lying down, blood is distributed fairly evenly throughout your body. But the moment you change position too quickly, gravity pulls a significant amount of blood down toward your legs and abdomen. As a result, the blood flow to your brain drops briefly. That's why many people feel lightheaded, experience dimmed vision for a few seconds, or need to steady themselves when they first stand up. In medicine, this is called orthostatic hypotension. But what matters even more is how your heart responds. To compensate for that sudden drop, your heart has to quickly increase both its rate and the force of each beat to maintain blood flow to the brain. The problem is, all of this happens at the exact same time your body is already going through a strong hormonal activation in the morning. Your heart rate is already elevated, your blood vessels are already constricted, and now your heart has to push even harder to adjust to a rapid change in position. For a cardiovascular system that isn't as flexible as it used to be, this layering of stress can become too much. It may not always cause immediate consequences, but in more vulnerable situations, it can trigger arrhythmias, damage blood vessels, or push the body into instability within just a few seconds. What's concerning is that most people don't even realize they're putting their heart in this situation every single day, over and over again, as an unconscious habit. There's one thing I want you to pay close attention to. Your body often sends warning signals before something serious happens. But many people ignore those signs because they assume that's just part of getting older. Have you ever felt slightly dizzy when you first stand up? Your vision dims for a few seconds, there's a faint ringing in your ears, or you need to pause before you can take a step. Some people also notice their heart suddenly racing, or a strange, hard-to-describe lightheaded feeling. These symptoms are not random. They're signs that your circulatory system is struggling to adapt to a sudden change. In other words, your body is a step behind what you've just asked it to do. The problem is, when these small signals are ignored and repeated every day, the risk begins to build up. And at some point, it only takes one additional trigger, even a very small one, to push the entire system out of balance. If you've experienced any of these sensations, don't brush them off. This isn't just a normal part of aging, it's your body telling you it needs to be handled more carefully, especially in those first few minutes of the morning. In addition to changes in hormones and blood pressure, there's another factor that often goes unnoticed but plays a critical role in the morning: mild dehydration after a long night. During 6 to 8 hours of sleep, your body continues to lose fluid through breathing and perspiration, even if you're not aware of it. When you wake up, you haven't taken in any fluids yet, but your circulatory system is already ramping up. As a result, your blood becomes more concentrated compared to the night before. Think of your cardiovascular system like a network of pipes. When the fluid flowing through those pipes becomes thicker and slower, the pressure on the pump, your heart, increases significantly. Your heart has to work harder with each beat to keep blood moving, especially at a time when your heart rate and blood pressure are already rising as part of waking up. It doesn't stop there. Thicker blood also means your clotting factors become more active. This increases the likelihood of forming blood clots, one of the direct causes of blocked arteries, which can lead to a heart attack or stroke. What's important to understand is that this happens to almost everyone, regardless of how healthy you are. But in older adults, where blood vessels are less elastic and may already have vulnerable areas, the combination of thicker blood and sudden pressure changes makes the risk more pronounced. That's why the morning isn't just the start of a new day. It's also the time when your cardiovascular system is under the most stress, often before you're even aware of it. When you look at each factor on its own, it may not seem that alarming. A slight rise in hormones, a bit of dehydration, a slower circulatory response. But the real issue is this: all of these things happen at the same time, within a very short window. Imagine 3 layers of pressure hitting your cardiovascular system right as you wake up. Hormones push your heart to beat faster and your blood vessels to tighten. Your blood becomes thicker after a long night, and your circulation has to adjust to a change in body position within seconds. There's no pause, no preparation. This is what we call a layered effect, something many people don't recognize. Each factor alone may not cause an immediate problem, but when they combine, they create a highly sensitive window where even a small trigger can throw the entire system off balance. So the danger isn't that you're doing something strenuous in the morning. It's that you're stepping into a moment when your body is already at its most vulnerable, without even realizing it. I want to tell you about Richard, a 67-year-old retired high school teacher. He was the kind of person everyone would assume would never face a serious health problem. He walked every morning, ate fairly well, didn't smoke, and kept up with his regular medical checkups. That night, everything was completely normal. He went to bed as usual, with no signs of anything wrong. But the next morning, when the alarm went off, he did what he had done for over 20 years, a simple habit he had never once thought about changing. Just a few minutes after waking up, as he was walking toward the bathroom, he suddenly felt dizzy. It wasn't a sharp pain, There were no obvious warning signs, just a brief moment of lightheadedness. And then everything went dark. By the time his wife found him, he was lying on the floor, unconscious. What makes Richard's case so concerning isn't just what happened, but what came before it. He had no clear warning signs. His health profile was good for his age. No serious heart disease, no history of stroke. But when doctors looked back at the sequence of events, they noticed something many people overlook: the moment of transition from rest to activity in the morning. It wasn't a major action, but a rapid series of changes happening before the body had time to adjust. Richard's story is not rare, and what's troubling is that most people in similar situations never realize that those seemingly harmless seconds can become the starting point of a serious event. From everything we've just covered, you can start to see a key point. Not every moment in the morning carries the same level of risk. The most sensitive window is actually confined to just the first few seconds, right when your body shifts from rest to activity. This is when your systems are still out of sync. Your heart has already started speeding up, your blood vessels are tightening, and your blood is still thicker than usual. If that transition happens too quickly, your body is forced to react abruptly just to catch up. And it's that sudden reaction that creates the risk. The good news is, you don't need to overhaul your entire lifestyle to protect your heart. You don't need new medications or complicated equipment. What matters most is how you handle this transition moment. Simply slow it down. Give your body a few seconds to adjust. Create a small buffer between waking up and starting to move. When you do that, you allow your cardiovascular system to shift more smoothly instead of being pushed into a sudden surge. In other words, the solution isn't about doing more, it's about doing it right, at the exact moment your body needs it most. Now, I want you to picture a very simple routine. No equipment, no cost, but one that can help your body transition from sleep to activity more safely. I call it the 90-second heart protection routine. The first step begins the moment you wake up. Don't rush to move. Stay in your lying position and focus on your breathing. Inhale slowly through your nose, pause briefly, then exhale gently through your mouth. Repeat this 3 times. It may seem like very little, but these breaths signal your nervous system that there's no need to speed up too quickly. Your heart rate begins to stabilize, and the stress response starts to calm down. Next, before your feet touch the floor, drink a glass of water that you prepared the night before. It doesn't need to be cold or anything special, just room temperature water. This helps replace the fluids your body lost overnight, making your blood easier to flow and reducing the strain on your heart during those first minutes of the day. The final step is to change your position in a controlled way. Instead of sitting up abruptly, roll onto your side and use your arms to gently push yourself up. Once you're sitting at the edge of the bed, don't stand right away. Give your body about 20 to 30 seconds to adjust. You can move your ankles or feet slightly to activate circulation in your lower body. Then stand up slowly and pause for a few seconds before taking your first step. This entire process takes less than 90 seconds. But in that short time, you give your body a chance to adjust step by step instead of forcing it to react all at once. And that small difference can create a meaningful change in how your heart begins each day. There's a common misconception many people have. If you eat well, exercise regularly, and your checkup numbers are within normal limits, then you're safe. But that's not entirely true. Many people with healthy lifestyles still experience cardiovascular events, not because they're doing something obviously wrong, but because their body responds differently over time. After age 60, the issue isn't just overall health, but how well your cardiovascular system can adapt to sudden changes. You may still feel healthy, but your body's adjustment reflex is no longer as fast or as precise as it once was. That's why transitional moments, like when you first wake up, become more important than ever. It's not about whether you're strong or weak, but about the fact that your body needs more time to catch up with the changes happening inside. There's also a group of people who need to be especially careful. If you're being treated for high blood pressure, have a history of heart conditions, or are taking diuretics, your body may be more sensitive to shifts in blood volume and electrolyte balance. This can make your heart rhythm more prone to disruption, especially in the morning, when multiple factors are acting at the same time. In these cases, paying attention to small signals becomes very important. A racing heart, unusual palpitations, persistent dizziness, these should not be ignored. Sometimes a simple test can reveal changes your body has been trying to signal. What I want you to remember is this. Your heart health isn't determined only by what you do throughout the day, but also by how you begin your morning. And once you understand that, you can start protecting yourself proactively, instead of reacting after something has already happened. If you remember just one thing from everything we've talked about, let it be this. It's not the big things you do during the day, but how you start your morning that quietly determines how safe your heart really is. After age 60, your body doesn't respond as quickly or as smoothly as it once did. But that doesn't mean you're getting weaker. It simply means your body needs to be handled the right way, especially during those important transition moments you often overlook. You don't need to overhaul your entire lifestyle. You don't need complicated solutions. Just the first 90 seconds each morning, slow down, do it properly, and give your body time to adjust. Tonight, before you go to bed, place a glass of water next to your bed. Tomorrow morning, when you wake up, try this routine. Do it consistently for 7 days. Pay attention to how your body feels, how steady you are when you stand, how clear your mind feels, how stable your steps are. Those small changes will tell you you're on the right track. If you decide to start, leave the word START in the comments. It's not just a commitment to me. It's a commitment to your own health. And if you found this helpful, share it with someone you care about, because they may be repeating this habit every morning without realizing the risk. You can also like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss important insights like this in the future. Because sometimes one small change is enough to protect what matters most.